Next time you are on a motorway, look at the trucks, panels under the trailers, folding fins on the back doors, stretched, rounded cabs. Trucks are growing tails and skirts, and none of it is decoration. A long haul truck burns roughly $55,000 of diesel a year, and at highway speed, over half the power reaching the wheels is spent pushing air. This video maps where a truck's drag actually comes from, meets the real villain, the wake behind the back doors, shows how tails and skirts attack it, how engineers simulate it, and why regulators forced it. By the end, you will read a truck like a drag budget. Start with where the drag lives. A tractor trailer is an extreme bluff body. 85 to 90% of its drag is pressure drag, the front to back pressure imbalance, and only 10 to 15% is skin friction, the opposite of an aircraft wing. Shape beats surface polish. The classic breakdown at highway speed, roughly 45% from the front, including the tractor trailer gap, about 30% from the underbody, axles, cross members, wheels, and about 25% from the base, the flat back doors. Three regions, and each grew its own device family. Keep the map in mind because next we meet the region engineers ignored the longest. Why it matters. Aerodynamic power scales with the cube of a speed. Go from 90 to 105 kilometers per hour and aero power jumps 65%. At 105, a loaded truck needs about 214 horsepower at the wheels, and 114 of those, more than half, fight air. Rolling resistance takes about a third, and aero overtakes it at roughly 80 kilometers per hour. One more number. Cut drag by 20% and you save about 10% of fuel at highway speed. A 2 to 1 conversion. It prices every device in this video, and it collapses in city traffic, which explains which trucks wear these devices and which never bother. Now the villain. The trailer ends in a flat vertical wall of doors. Air flowing along the roof and sides cannot turn that sharp corner, so it separates exactly at the rear edges. Behind the doors, the separated shear layers wrap around a fat churning recirculating wake, and the pressure inside sits well below the surrounding air. Near atmospheric pressure pushes on the nose. This low pressure zone pulls on the doors over their entire area. Base drag is that pressure deficit times door area. The truck is literally towing a partial vacuum, and a flat base can never fix it because pressure recovery needs a surface to happen on. Behind a flat wall, there is none. The energy just churns away as turbulence. Your instinct says streamline the nose, but the front was solved decades ago. In the 70s, NASA rounded the vertical corners of a boxy van, drag dropped about 40%. Rounding every edge got past 50. When Kenworth launched America's first production aero tractor in 1985, drivers mocked it as the anteater. Then it delivered up to 22% better fuel economy and became a sales hit. The physics point. Drag is the difference between front and back pressure, and a perfect nose still leaves the full suction on the doors. The teardrop is slippery because of its tail, not its nose. So the back of the truck is where the modern story happens. Enter the boat tail, angled panels that taper the trailer before the flow separates. Two things happen. As air follows the taper, it slows and its pressure rises. And that recovered pressure pushes on surfaces that lean forward, partly pushing the truck along. The taper also shrinks the wake, so less suction acts on less area. Taper too steeply, though, and the flow separates off the tail itself. You gain nothing. The sweet spot across wind tunnel programs, 10 to 15 degrees. In NASA's classic ground transportation tests, four flat plates cut the wind average drag coefficient from 0.277 to 0.225, 19% of the vehicle's drag. On the road, commercial tails verified around 5 to 6.5% fuel savings. So why are real tails so short? 1938. Wunibald Kamm in Stuttgart showed you do not need the whole teardrop. Most of the pressure recovery happens early in the taper. Cut the tail where the cross section has fallen to about half, and you keep most of the benefit at a fraction of the length. His truncated prototype hit a drag coefficient near 0.25, when ordinary cars were double that. Truck tails run the same argument in reverse. A full teardrop trailer could never back into a loading dock, so you fit the first 60 to 80 centimeters of taper, where recovery is cheapest. Europe even wrote it into law. Trucks may exceed the legal length limit for folding aerodynamic flaps. The best tail is mostly missing, on purpose. Now the skirts, the most successful device of all. The trailer underbody is aerodynamically filthy. Axles, suspension, cross members. But the real secret is crosswind. Real wind almost never blows straight at the nose, so the truck sails at a small yaw angle, pumping air sideways through the undercarriage, dumping momentum into all that hardware. Skirts wall it off, and their benefit grows with yaw, so they work even better in the real windy world than in a zero yaw test. That is why truck aerodynamicists quote wind average drag, not a single number. Verified tests put skirts at 5 to 7% fuel savings. Fleets report 4 to 6. Cheap, passive, nothing for the driver to do. That is why skirts are everywhere and tails are not. This taper angle physics has a laboratory icon. In 1984, Ahmed and colleagues built a deliberately simple car-shaped box with an interchangeable slanted back. The Ahmed body became the standard test case for vehicle wakes, and its slant tells the whole boat tail story. Below about 12 degrees, the flow stays attached and drag is low. Steepen it, and counter-rotating vortices roll up along the slant edges. Their low-pressure cores load the surface and drag climbs, peaking near 30 degrees. Past that critical angle, the flow separates completely and drag actually drops. Right at the critical angle, the wake can even flip between two states. Every CFD student simulates this body, and every boat tail lives on the friendly side of its curve. How do engineers compute this? The uncomfortable truth. Steady turbulence models that handle attached flows well struggle in a truck's wake. They misjudge the turbulence in the separated shear layers, get the wake size wrong, and mispredict base pressure. And base pressure is the whole game. Modern practice uses hybrid unsteady methods, detached eddy simulation and its relatives, which resolve the large turbulent structures and recover the right base pressure. Validation leans on purpose built wind tunnel models with public data, the truck world's Ahmed bodies. And the pitfalls are physical. Simulate the moving ground and spinning wheels, and always sweep the yaw angle. Zero yaw flatters the wrong devices. Regulators even specify the recipe. Compliance grade truck CFD runs on at least 50 million cells. If the physics was known in the 30s, why now? Follow the fuel price and the law. Diesel hit record highs in 2008. Suddenly 5% was serious money. SmartWay had just created verified savings ratings fleets could trust. California made verified skirts mandatory on big trailers. Federal greenhouse gas rules baked aerodynamics into truck certification. And Europe changed the length law. Trucks may exceed the limit specifically for aerodynamic tails and stretch cabs, which is why new European tractors look so different. Meanwhile, the market ran its own experiment. Skirts, cheap and passive, pay back within about a year. They took over. Boat tails, which drivers had to fold and docks kept damaging, faded. The physics always worked. The constraint was operations. The drag budget, one last time, 45% at the front, solved by round corners, sealed gaps, stretched cabs, 30% underneath, walled off by skirts that earned their keep in every crosswind, 25% at the back, the towed vacuum, clawed back a few points at a time by short tails Cam would recognize instantly. A truck is a rolling lesson in bluff body aerodynamics. Fixed separation, base drag, pressure recovery, vortex penalties, and turbulence models tested in the wake. Next time one overtakes you, read it. The skirts, the flaps, the cab. Every panel is a line item in the same budget, and now you know the physics behind each one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching CFD Toolbox. If you want more CFD content, hit subscribe and check out my other videos on the channel.